This is a direct attack on the United States, as multiple bombs over Baghdad were confirmed by the Pentagon. Now, you might be wondering, how is this an attack on America, right? Well, when you're targeting the U.S. Embassy of all places, you can probably consider that an attack. With all this talk about a terrorist threat from Houthis that will be sponsored by Iran, to North Korea spying on our bases in different areas of the globe, and with Russia and China seemingly conspiring to work against the West, and well, you'd have to think that President Biden is thinking of what he can do to protect American citizens here at home and abroad. I mean, why wouldn't he, right?
We are now getting word of a new attack on an American base, this embassy in this case, overseas. We're learning that more than half a dozen 60-millimeter mortar rounds landed inside the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad. There were originally reports they were rockets. We're told that there were no injuries, thankfully. Let's bring in Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg. General Kellogg, good to have you with us as always. What do you make of this attack that we're just learning about this morning?
Yeah, thanks, Martha. Thanks for having me. Look, there's a difference on this. When you start attacking embassy and embassy grounds, it's a lot different than attacking, say, Al Asad Air Base, because there's a policy or an idea that there's the thing called extraterritoriality in State Department language. It's a mouthful, but it basically means you're attacking sovereign U.S. territory. So that's what the embassy is. And when you look at the amount of attacks that have occurred, which is what, 78 attacks, over 30 of them actually happening in Iraq, this is a real assault on American sovereignty in the Middle East. And the concern I've got here, Martha, is that everybody's kind of dumbing this down. It's like, okay, all these attacks keep coming and nobody really gets concerned about it anymore.
Right off the bat, I want to ask you folks, should we be concerned about these attacks on our embassies overseas? Comment a quick yes or no on that one, guys. I got to say, it's like a new attack every 24 hours now. You have to ask, when will these attacks on American soil happen next? And while you guys are thinking about that, make sure to drop a quick like for the video. We need to get this information out to as many people as we can. So please help out with that and consider being a part of our family by subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate that, guys. Now, I can't continue this story without addressing the big old elephant in the room, and that is our borders. You see, we've seen the photos, the videos. We know that there's a lot of military-aged men that are coming from different parts of the world, and they're going through our borders. I mean, I think they set a record of 12,000 migrants crossing over in like one day recently, right? And it's not just from countries that are close to us with people who are legitimately needing asylum, but we're also seeing adult males crossing over from the Middle East, Africa, and of course, China.
Border Patrol agents are overwhelmed with the massive influx of illegal immigrants. The number are like anything we've ever seen. Border Patrol saying they have encountered 12,000 illegal immigrants on the southern border. That's on Tuesday alone. That's the highest daily total ever. Senator Lindsey Graham with this message for President Biden.
If you're awake, you better come up with a solution to a broken border before a bunch of people get killed. This is a national security disaster in the making.
Bill Maloogian is at the border in Lukeville, Arizona. He is near a huge group of illegal immigrants now waiting to be processed. This matter just getting worse by the day, Bill.
It is, Julie, and CBP sources tell me in the last 24 hours alone, there have been just short of 10,000 migrant encounters here at our southern border. More than 3,000 of those happening right here in this Tucson, Arizona sector. We'll show you the situation here in Lukeville, Arizona, middle of nowhere, southern Arizona desert, 2 hours to the closest major city, where people continue to cross here illegally from all over the world. You can see the demographics here. All these guys, adult men, a lot from African countries. We talked to guys who came in from Mauritania, Morocco, Liberia, India, Syria, all over the place. Many of them telling us they first flew into South America, then traveled through a big handful of countries to get into Mexico, then went right through Mexico to the border here with the U.S., where they've crossed illegally, and they are expecting to be released into the United States and all have cities where they would like to go. We'll show you what it looked like earlier this morning. Take a look at this. Before the sun came up, we were shooting this video. It gets cold out here, so these migrants start campfires all over the place in an effort to stay warm. They'll go into the desert and pull brush out, light it up. They'll find trash. Basically anything they can find to stay warm out here, because it does get pretty chilly. And some of these guys have been camping out here for several days waiting for Border Patrol to process them. We talk about the nonstop flow here. Take a look at this video we shot late yesterday afternoon. There was another breach in the border wall, and you'll see masses of hundreds of people crossing illegally and then walking down the dirt path on this border wall right to where I'm standing giving you this live shot. Border Patrol is overwhelmed. They're trying to process people out of here as fast as they can, but it's hard because there is a never ending supply of people coming through the border wall and crossing here illegally.
But what does the White House have to say about this possible, keyword being possible, threat to the United States?
Republicans talk about immigration reform. They talk about border security. The president, on day one, the president put forth an immigration policy, right? He put forth a comprehensive immigration legislation to start that conversation, essentially to start negotiating on day one. It's been 3 years, and they have not been moving forward in good faith. They have not been trying to get to a solution in good faith. The system is broken. We want to find real solutions. The president said yesterday he's willing to have a serious conversation about this. But where's the good faith?
I remember this pretty well, and it was like a battle between Trump and Biden regarding immigration policies, with Biden suggesting that they be relaxed. Meanwhile, Trump wanted them to be a little bit tighter. Now, you guys are free to decide which approach you think is best, but I've gone off on a whole tangent here, haven't I? So yeah, this recent attack on one of our embassies is being exemplified as, a sign that the United States of America isn't as feared as it once was. That we're now at a point where, we have citizens that are not willing to join the army, where our petroleum reserves continue to be at historically low levels, and a federal government that's willing to give out billions of dollars so long as you're not an American citizen. Did I list that out accurately? Because it's easy to see for others that these attacks are built on confidence. I mean, what group would fire multiple mortar rounds and rockets at a U.S. embassy? Now, if you ask the White House again, they're pointing the finger at Iran, especially with the other recent attack that seemed to be targeted toward one of our destroyers.
And while they are launched by the Houthis, we certainly have every reason to believe that they're being enabled by Iran. As the National Security Advisor said just the other day, the Houthis are pulling the trigger, Iran is providing the guns.
It really looks like they're trying to build up this entire war with Iran. And there's two options that many people are talking about. And I really want you guys to weigh in on these two at your discretion, okay? Do you think that the response from the Biden administration, especially with our troops being attacked 80 times or something like that now since October 7th? With all of that happening, do you think that the response has been weak? That the response has been lacking in firepower, and this is basically one of the reasons as to why we're seeing even more of these attacks? Or, and this is the other side of the coin, is the Biden administration being cautious with its retaliation so as not to cause a freaking World War III, and that this is the best path forward? Because I have to say this again, folks, this was a U.S. embassy. Sure, it's still considered the host country's soil, but the message that it sends is that these people are now willing to cross that line, to cross that limit. You know what I'm saying? And just to really drive the point home here for any of you guys that, might be thinking that this is all good and that things are fine, it says right here in a recent write-up that Iran-backed militia are vowing even more attacks on our embassy in Iraq, which means that by the time I upload this video, there probably could be another attack happening, which, to be honest, is one of the worst case scenarios moving forward here. Despite all of these attacks, though, the Pentagon says that they've been effective at preventing the conflict between Hamas and Israel from spreading across the region. Do you guys agree with that? Make sure you guys let me know down in the comments down below. Before I go, I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Keep safe out there, and I'll see you on the next one.